Okay. Good morning, people. Who's um, who's here? Um, I can talk to you. Obviously, you can't talk to me through YouTube, but we have some comments. We have the live chat besides. If you type in and say hello and maybe say who you are, because I might not know you from your YouTube handle or from your YouTube name, then I'll know you're here. Um, So I have one person signing in. Jenna's here. Good morning, Jenna. I have 415 Ivan. I'm not sure who that is, but good morning to you. Oh, you are Ivan. Okay. Good morning, Ivan. I don't know if I have you on my list or not. Um, that's okay. Good morning, Manon. Good morning. Good morning, Clarissa. You're here too. Good morning. Good morning, Sam. Nice to not see you, I guess, but that's all right. Baha, good morning. Who else is here? We've got, there's about 15 of us on the class list, so I'll just let all of them trickle in. Yes, good morning, Sam. That's okay, I've got you. Who else? Who else is here? So you're gonna you're gonna leave now, Manon? Okay, it was nice to have you pop in. You're welcome anytime, of course. Same with you, Clarissa. You're welcome. You're welcome anytime. Although, are you in this class, Clarissa, or not yet? Um, as for as for the rest of you, how's the last couple months been? What have you been up to? Just kind of staying inside, or has it been really boring, or have you been keeping yourselves busy, or what's been happening? Good morning, Lil43. I don't know who you are, but good morning. KC is here. Good morning, KC. Yeah, what have you guys been up to? Nothing and getting fat. uh, yeah. It's hard, right? It's hard when, there's nowhere to go and the fridge is right there, right? Good morning. Good morning. You're free all day. Yeah. Yeah, I guess at the very least, now that school's starting, we'll have something to do, right? We'll have something to sort of keep us motivated and maybe keep us out of the fridge, right? Okay, so let's see. So I've got one, two, maybe three, four, five, six, seven. So only about okay. There's about 10 of us here. I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait another minute or so, and then hopefully we can get everybody here, and then I'll start talking. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. By the way, guys, how's the sound? Is the sound in the video okay? Um, does it sound okay? Can you hear me okay? There's a buzzing going on. Okay, hang on. I'm not hearing any buzzing here, but anyone else hear the buzzing? Hi, Benamir. Okay, hang on. How about now? Still buzzing? You can hear it. Did I fix it or not? It's gone now. Okay, good. Yeah, I think my cord was just a little loose. Okay, when you took it off, it's gone. Okay. Oh, so it's still buzzing now, is what you're telling me? It actually. Okay. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna get rid of this thing. I thought the sound would be better, but maybe I bought a crappy mic. Okay. Okay, no buzzing. All right, here we go. Good morning, Erica. Okay, let's get rolling, all right? So, welcome to Social Justice. I'm really glad you're here. I know this is a strange kind of learning environment and teaching environment for all of us. I don't know if you're starting to get used to it or not. But I guess we're going to have to get used to it because we're going to be doing this for probably the next few months. Fortunately for us, I think we have the tools to make this work. We have this kind of live stream situation where I can sort of easily talk to all of you. We have Microsoft Teams where we can chat. We can do some video conferences, which we'll do maybe tomorrow, but definitely later in the course. And we have Student Portal, where I can post all kinds of things for you to read and so on. And so, you know, fortunately, we're doing this in a day and age where we have the technology to teach and to learn this way. I don't think it's the best way for us to learn, but of course, we don't have much of a choice right now. Those of you who have been to the college and have sort of been in our real classrooms are, I don't know, maybe you're missing it right now. I'm missing it a little bit, but you know, we'll get through it and we'll make it work one way or the other. Okay, so first thing, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about me. My name's Mike Metcalf. I've been teaching at the college for about almost 5 years now. Most of what I teach is high school, so I teach this class, I teach comparative cultures, I teach History 12, and sometimes I teach first year anthropology on the university side. So I do a little bit of everything. In terms of this course, maybe what I'll do is, hang on one second here. There, that's what I want to show you. So I have, I've posted a course syllabus on Student Portal. And so if you've been into Student Portal before, if you go into your courses, you will find a section close to the top called Course Documents. And so as we go through this class, I'll post basically everything we need there. I'll post lecture slides, I'll post articles, I'll post other things that you have to read, I'll post questions that I might ask you. everything will kind of go up there, and so you'll always be able to find the stuff that we're working on posted there. And so far I've just posted the syllabus and then the text we'll use, but I'll get to that in a second. So um, this class is going to meet from, well, we'll see exactly how we're going to do this. But traditionally, this class would meet from about 8 to 9:40. We're going to go until 9:50 because we've changed the class times for this term a little bit. And so usually what I would do in real life is we would meet from 8 to 9:50. I'll give you sort of a little break in between just so we can stretch our legs and sort of refocus our mind. But that's what I think we'll continue to do. As you can see, I've got the course description there. Good morning, Karen. I've got the course description in the syllabus, and I guess this course is about a lot of things. It's a new course. The first time it was offered in BC was just a little over a year ago. And it was the first time that the course was taught in BC. It was the first time that I had taught the course. And so the class kind of keeps evolving. And so every time I teach it, it gets a little bit, it's a little different than it was the time before. I learn more. My views on things change. I add some things in. I take some things out, and so the class is kind of always changing and evolving. But right now, kind of what I think the course is about is what kind of a society do we want to live in? How do we live with other people in large groups? And that's a huge question. And it requires us to understand a lot of different things. It requires us to understand a little bit about history, a little bit about anthropology and sociology, about the way that what humans are and how we interact and how we live our lives and how we operate in large social groups. It requires a little bit of philosophy. It's kind of the course is kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things. But I think it's an important one. I think as we kind of go on in this sort of globalization experiment that we're all in, people are being pulled more tightly together. The world is a much smaller place than it used to be. And so now we increasingly have to find new ways to sort of cooperate with each other in ways that decades ago or centuries ago we didn't really have to do. And so I think this course is important in a sort of a local sense in terms of how you live with people within your country, but also how you live with people within your continent or within the entire planet. So I think it's a really important course for us to dig into. So we'll be looking at inequality. We'll look at the ways in which people are treated differently within a society. And we'll look at how they're treated differently based on a bunch of things. So we'll look at sex and gender. We'll look at race. We'll look at religion. We'll look at economic class. We'll look at sort of physical ability. All of these things are pieces of our identity, pieces of who we are, and they influence the way that society treats us. And so we will kind of walk through these. We'll try to pull them apart, and in the process, hopefully we will learn something about how to think critically about things. Hopefully we'll learn a little bit about how to think critically about things, how to understand complicated issues, and how to have conversations about complicated issues as well. So that's in a very small way. That's what the course is about. But we'll dig into it, and it will become clear as we go. Um, for materials for this class, I have a textbook that I've posted to Student Portal under course documents. It's called Introduction to Sociology. Now, if you look at it, I don't want you to panic because we're not going to read the whole thing. We're just going to read little sections of it here and there. And so, as I say, don't panic. I think the textbook is about 400 pages. We won't even look at anywhere close to that. So, again, don't freak out when you see it. It's not that big a deal. Like I mentioned before, I'll also post other things on Student Portal for us as well. Different articles we might want to read or videos we might want to watch. Good so far? Do you want to throw me in the comments there? Do you want to throw me a thumbs up or happy face or sad face or whatever? Just so I know that you're there and everything's okay. Okay, good. Sam's got a thumbs up. Okay. So, by the way, if while I'm talking, if you want to, cool. If while I'm talking, if you want to ask a question, or if you want me to stop and explain something more, um, just throw a, just throw something up in the live comments because I can see them and I constantly check them. So, if you if you want me to. If you want to bring something to my attention, if you want to bring something to my attention, you can always do that. Okay, lots of thumbs up. That's good. So the next part of this syllabus is the learning outcomes. Hello, is the learning outcomes, and so these are kind of the skills that we're going to try to build in this course. Now, I think these kind of have become more important than ever in a couple of ways. First off, the curriculum in BC, so the way that we teach high school classes in BC has changed. And so now we are trying to teach things that are more skill-based than knowledge-based. And so a lot of those skills are listed, or the skills that we're going to work on are listed here. And I won't go through every one of them, but I will summarize them briefly in that these are critical thinking skills, basically. These are skills that are going to help us develop our ability to ask good questions and to find truthful, factual, intelligent answers to them. Over the last, I guess, 2 months or so, has it been 2 months? Or has it been 1 month? Ugh, it's impossible to keep track of time. During the last month or so, I've been doing a lot of kind of reading and listening to podcasts and things like that. And one of the things that we are all going to have to deal with, and certainly you're going to have to deal with more than me, is the way the world is changing with regard to automation and artificial intelligence. And so we already have artificial intelligence programs running all over the place. We have them running in our phones right now. Many processes have become automated. Many jobs have become automated. And that seems like that will continue into the future. And so eventually what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to become very good at doing things that machines don't do very well. And things that machines do very well, and the things that computer programs do very well, is repetitive work, right? Things where you just do the same thing over and over and over again. Machines are really, really good at that. And so when we're thinking about what kind of skills we want to build going into
the 21st century. Actually, we're in the 21st century now, but when we think about the skills that we want to build, we want to get good at the things that humans do really well and the things that computers don't so much. Um, Things like creative thinking and critical thinking and making value judgments, having conversations, um, being empathetic and supportive. All of those things are part of what human beings are, and machines don't really do them quite so well. And so, all of the skills that we see here listed in the syllabus are skills like that. Skills that will allow us to ask questions, to innovate, to discover answers to things, um, to debate complicated questions. Um, Lots of the questions, the bigger questions I think that are floating around the world today are really complex ones. Unfortunately for all of you guys, previous generations, they answered all the easy questions. All the easy questions have been taken. And so we've just left the hard ones for you guys, which is not fair, but that's what's happened. And so we need a set of skills that can enable us to solve complicated questions. Um, the other thing maybe I'll just say really quickly here before we move on is many times people, when they look at history courses or when they look at social justice or sociology or anthropology or things like excuse me, or things like that, when they look at them, they kind of feel that they are soft, right? They're not hard skills. They're not like science or math, and so people tend to view them as less. People tend to view them as not as important. People tend uh, to give them kind of less thought, less importance. Um, but I think if you look at what's happening around the world, and particularly if you look at what's happening in the United States right now, you'll see a real failure of a real failure that is not based on science and technology. And so, if you look in the United States, most people would agree that their handling of this COVID situation has been really, really poor. Um, Lots of people have died, a huge number of people have died, and depending on how things go, quite a few, many, many more people will die as a result. But if you think about it, has the situation in the United States, does it have anything to do with math or science? Are they stumbling and falling on this particular problem? Are they falling down because of science or technology? And I don't think you can say that. The United States' ability to conduct science is just as good as any other country, if not better than any other country around the world. Where they're kind of falling down, where they're struggling, is they can't really agree on what's important. They can't really agree on what's true. They can't really agree on how they want to live together. They can't agree on what's most important. Um, they can't agree on what is an ethical thing to do, what's a morally right thing to do, and what's a morally wrong thing to do. They can't seem to agree on that either. And all of those kinds of disagreements that the US is having right now are things that can be taught through courses like this. And so, again, I don't want to downplay science or technology because it's super important. But again, if you look at what's happening in the US now, they're experiencing a lot of struggles and a lot of death, and none of it has to do with science or technology. All of it has to do with the kind of skills that we would build in a class like this, where we have to understand complicated problems, talk about complicated problems, and try to find appropriate solutions to them. And that's just the kind of thing that the US is not, they don't seem to be able to do at the moment. And so, again, I don't want to, we don't need to bring American politics into this too deeply. But I think that it makes a class like this extra relevant. It makes skills like this extra relevant. And so, yeah, those are the kind of things that we'll work on as we go through this course. there's also these kind of core competencies that are part of the curriculum in BC. And what they are kind of personal thinking and emotional skills that we can build. Um, these are always a little tricky to build into a course, maybe not so much the communication one or the thinking one, because they're a pretty strong part of our academic work. But the personal and social competency is difficult to build in sometimes. Because again, it is personal, right? It has to do with who we are as people and maybe who we want to be and how we understand ourselves and how we care for ourselves. All of those things are really personal. And so I haven't quite found the best way to integrate those into a course, but I will be kind of experimenting with a few things this term to try to address them. But again, we'll be talking about communication, about thinking, and about personal and social competencies and well-being. But more on that later. If you look a little further down, I've got a rough schedule of what we'll do. The schedule here is kind of soft in that sometimes I modify it. I'll try to stick to it as close as possible. But sometimes we need a little more time with things, right? Sometimes we'll come across something as difficult and we need to spend some extra time discussing it or sort of getting it right. Sometimes, I get the feeling that people are tired of something and so we'll move on. And so I usually keep a little bit of flexibility in terms of how we move forward, just to make sure that our pacing is okay. And so, excuse me, I'm not going to force us to stick to this schedule. I'm not going to charge through and make sure we hit all the points. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But this is broadly how things will go for the next 12 weeks or so. Evaluation methods, which I know everyone's always interested in. For this class, I chose not to do any big exams. So no midterm, no final. And the reason I did that is because, first of all, because I can't really see any of you, it's really difficult for me to to preserve the integrity of an exam, right? And so if Erica's writing an exam, for instance, at home, and she's decided she's not going to cheat on the exam, she's just going to write it using her own brain, that's good, but she also has to feel confident that everyone else is doing that too. And if we were all in the same room at school, I could guarantee that. I could make sure that, everyone is writing the exam at the same from the same level that Erica is. But I'll tell you in just a second there. I could make sure that everyone's writing at the same level. But of course, because all of us are in our own homes and I can't really see you, I can't really guarantee that to anyone. And so the second reason I chose not to do any exams is the fact that, again, what we just talked about, right? We want to get better at things that computers don't do. And recalling knowledge is something that computers do really, really well. And so memorization of stuff is not going to be the first priority here. But that said, we do need to learn things. We do need to remember things because that's how we're able to think critically about information. You can't think critically about nothing, right? You have to know something in order to think critically about it. And so there is stuff that you will have to learn and remember. It's just that that's not going to be at the forefront of this course. It's going to be supporting the other things we do. So what I did instead, just to make sure that we are kind of on top of the things that we need to remember and the things that we need to learn, is I decided to do just some short oral quizzes. And so maybe like on a Friday, what I would do is we would do a quick video conference, you and me, just one-on-one, and I would just ask you a question and say, tell me what you know about this, and you would take a minute or so and tell me everything you know or explain something to me, and then I would give you, a quick mark based on that. So it wouldn't be, I don't want it to be super high pressure. It's just something to kind of make sure that we understand what we need to understand. So again, don't worry too much about that. They're just those little oral quizzes are just there to make sure that we're on top of things. I have an attendance participation grade, and so I'll kind of keep track of who's showing up and who's interacting and who's participating, and I'll give you a grade on that. I have a section for some reflective activities. They're just small little things that I'll give you to do here and there. More info on those as we go. And the last part are the little papers that we'll write. And so these are kind of mini research papers, mini essays. I'd like to do three of them that I'm calling micro papers. If you've never heard of those before, it's because I think I just invented it. I'm going to trademark it later, so hopefully I'll make lots of money off it. No, I won't make lots of money off it. But basically what they are is a very small research paper. So they're just one page. They're based on one source. They might have a little introduction and a paragraph and a conclusion, or maybe 2 paragraphs. Really, really short, to the point. And what I want us to do in the process of doing those is get a little experience writing, a little experience with creating arguments, a little bit of experience citing sources, and they're kind of practice runs for a larger paper that we'll do later in the term. And so, again, they won't be very long, but my approach with these is I'd rather you do something short that's really good rather than something that's big and long and kind of isn't quite as good. And so I want to do 3 of those that are kind of really, really small, really tight, but also really well written. And so the research paper at the end will just be a larger version of those. And so once we get one of those done, I think you'll kind of feel better about doing the other ones. But anyway, that's where our grade will come from. So not so much in terms of a final exam or a midterm exam or anything like that, but more smaller assignments, those really simple oral quizzes, and then our small papers, our micro papers, and our larger paper at the end. So the rest of the syllabus here is a little bit, some of it will make sense and some of it won't. A lot of it has to do with, it's written for a world when we're all in the same classroom, which obviously we're not. So some of what you read there won't make any sense in this context, but some of it will. What I think we should take from this section is, number one, that we do need to show up for class and be ready. You don't have to do it now, but maybe after class today, think a little bit about what you might do for yourself in order to make sure that you show up, that you stay engaged, right? And so I know that many students and many teachers, including me, really rely on being in the room to be motivated and ready, right? So I know that, if we were in class, I would, I'd have to get up on time and I'd have to get dressed and I'd have to get out the door so I could get into class, and I'd have to set up, and then when I was in there, I'd be in front of everyone, so I have to make sure I know what I'm talking about. All of those things I can kind of rely on in order to sort of get me motivated and get me ready to go. But in this situation, it's quite a bit different, right? All of us are at home. Some of us might still be in bed, although maybe I'm hoping most of us aren't. But it would be tempting to, just lie there in bed with your phone over your head, right? But that's not going to be helpful for our ability to learn and our ability to engage with one another. And so what I might ask you to do is think about, what's going to help you be engaged and be a part of this. And so maybe it has to do with setting up a little desk area at home and making sure you have all your stuff. Maybe you've got to make sure that you set a few alarms on your phone just to make sure that you're out of bed on time. Um, what seems to work for a lot of people is making sure that you get dressed. And so, you could do a class in your pajamas or, still in bed, but sometimes it works better in terms of people being engaged and sort of focused on work if they actually get up and get dressed. Um, for me, I don't know why it works, but I'm actually wearing shoes right now. I don't need to wear shoes in the house, but for some reason, it makes me feel more like I'm ready to do things. And so, what I'm encouraging you to do is think about what kind of things will help to make sure that you are kind of engaged and ready to go, whether it's getting dressed or wearing your shoes or making sure you have a desk set up or whatever it is. Um, we don't want to kind of slide into a situation where we're just kind of lying in bed with our phones or something, because that's not going to work very well for any of us. Um, so um, there's a classroom. Oh, my coffee turned off. There's a classroom code of conduct here, which maybe I'll leave you to read on your own because a lot of it doesn't make sense right now. Um, but I will. Um, let's see. Let me just see what the rest of it is. Okay. Um, the last thing I'll say, maybe it's not so much a code of conduct, but the idea is that this is going to be more work for all of us. Okay. In part, again, because we're not in the same room with one another. And so we have to kind of motivate ourselves. We have to make sure that we stay kind of engaged with what's going on. The other reason it's going to be more work is that we're going to have to reach harder to kind of connect with one another. Um, when you're in the same room and somebody's sort of sitting right beside you, or the teacher's standing there and they ask you a question and you have to excuse me, sorry, and you have to answer that question. When that happens, it's much easier to sort of connect and form relationships with people. In this situation, it's going to be more difficult. And so, what we're all going to have to do is we're going to have to reach out more. And so that means, if I if we're in this situation in a live stream and I ask you a question, um, put in extra effort to answer it, right? If we're doing something in teams, again, make sure that you're going to have to push yourself to sort of interact more than you're comfortable with or more than you normally would. Because again, in this situation, it's going to be very easy to just kind of sit there and not say anything and not do anything. And that's going to make this class really difficult to have it work. And I've seen it not just with students, but I've seen it with even other teachers when you're sort of in this virtual world, when you're in sort of a big Zoom meeting or something like that. It's very, very easy for people to just kind of sit there and be passive, as if they're just watching Netflix or whatever. So we're going to have to really force ourselves to. We're going to have to really force ourselves to interact more than we might feel comfortable for this to work. Yeah, so it's going to be. I think it's going to be more difficult to do it this way for sure. We're all going to have to work a little bit harder. But that said, I think that we are going to develop some important skills along the way. Some things that we will learn in this context that maybe we wouldn't have learned in a classroom. I'm not really sure about that, but yeah, I guess it remains to be seen. But it's going to be This is an educational experiment that we've all been forced into, and we just have to learn how to make the best of it. But I think we can. Um, okay, so I'm going to take a 2-second break right here just to stop talking. I haven't really spoken a lot for the last month, so that's why I'm coughing, because my my vocal cords are kind of not used to talking as much as I am. Do you have any questions for me that you want to ask right now? And so, if you do, maybe just throw them into the live stream there, or into the live chat, and I can answer them. So, any questions you might want to ask me, I'm open to answering them. While you do that, I'll check my email. Okay, it looks all quiet in the chat, but maybe you're just typing, so I'll just give you one more minute or so. All quiet. Is everyone good? This is that part where you have to you have to talk to me. Okay, I'm going to take that as everything's cool. Oh, still fine. Okay, that's good. All right, so the last thing I'll do today, um, since I think we have about 16 viewers, so I think everyone has found their way here. Can you, okay, you're okay so far. Can everybody, what are we going to do after this? I will tell you shortly, Erica. There's two things I'd like you to do for me, just so I can get a little bit of an idea of what your circumstances are. And so the first thing is, can you, in the live chat here, can you tell me very quickly where you are? So if you're in Vancouver, let me know. If you're in another city, also let me know, okay? Because I know that some people are going to be in different time zones, and so I'm just trying to figure out who's where and when, okay? So if you could just, in the comments here, if you could very quickly let me know where you are, that would be helpful. Okay, so we've got Vancouver, Vancouver, Vancouver. Okay, Ivan's in Hong Kong. Let's see. Okay, Jim's in Vancouver, Vancouver, Vancouver. Okay, that's good. Who else do we have, and where are you? Okay, Burnaby, that's good. That's good, Caleb. Jenna's in Vancouver still. Okay. Erica's in Indonesia. Okay. Who else do we have? Initials. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, these in Vietnam. Okay, in Vancouver. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Most of us are in the same time zone. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to do for us today, it's just today's just a short class. You know, we don't want to burn ourselves out on the first day, right? We just want to ease into this. So, what I will do is in Microsoft Teams, I'm going to post a quick poll, and just what I'd like you to do is go to the poll and just indicate to me what kind of technology you have. So if you're working, if you're able to, if you have a laptop or if you have a smartphone or if you have a desktop computer or whatever you have, just let me know what kind of technology you have, and that will kind of inform me as to sort of what I can do and what I can't. Okay, so as soon as I sign off here, I will. I'll put that poll up, and then I'll just ask you to go to it. And you don't even have to type your name in. You can if you want, but you don't have to. I just want to know sort of what kind of technology people are working with. Other than that, I think that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to make sure that the technology was working. I wanted to make sure that people found their way into this class. I wanted to make sure that I wanted to talk a little bit about what the class was about. I wanted to see where people are, and again, it looks like most people are in Vancouver. Yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to. That's all I wanted to do. And so, there is one more thing I wanted to mention to you as well. Usually when we do classes like this, teachers have office hours, and so they would kind of be in their office from a certain time. If you needed some extra help, or if you had some questions, you could always come during office hours and ask the teacher some questions. Obviously, we're not in offices anymore. And so what I did is, on the syllabus, for office hours, I put variable. And so what I'm saying there is that I will, if you need to talk to me, if you need to ask questions of me, I will make time for you whenever we can fit it in. And so one of the easiest ways to ask a question is just to do a Microsoft Teams chat. You can send me a message at any time and just ask a quick question, and I can answer it. I will. Basically, what I'll do is my Microsoft Teams is usually always open on my computer. And so if something comes up and I happen to be near the computer and I'm home and I have a second, then I can answer it. If not, I might answer it a little bit later. But in theory, you can kind of always get access to me. If you want to talk to me, if you want to have sort of a video conference on something as we get a little further into the course, we can set up a meeting time, or we can talk after class. And so really what I'm saying here is instead of saying, okay, my office hours are from this time to this time and that's it, I'm basically going to say, I'll be flexible. I'll answer you. If you have a question, I'll answer you whenever I can. But if you need to kind of have a video chat with me, or if you want to arrange a time for a meeting, we can totally do that too. So I'm just going to leave it flexible, since there is no office to have office hours in, and it might just be more easy for all of us to just either type me a question and I'll answer it, or we can arrange something. Okay. Other than that, I think that's about all I wanted to say for this morning. And so what I will do is I'll post that doodle poll in Microsoft Teams as soon as I sign off, and if you can just go and fill out what kind of technology you have, that will kind of help me. And then tomorrow we'll start on kind of real course stuff. We'll get going. Um, if you have any questions in the meantime, of course, I'm available. You can send me an email or you can send me a Microsoft Teams chat. Um, but otherwise, I think that's all I had to tell you this morning. So um, it's lovely to have you all in the class. I'm very happy that you're here. Some of you I already know. Some of you I've spoken to at the college. Some of you I don't know yet. But I'm really looking forward to this term. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be rewarding for us all. And yeah, again, I'm happy that you're all here. So with that, I think I will sign off. Fill out the poll. Get yourself ready for tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll get rolling. Okay, so that's it. See ya.